on today's episode of Anime Afterthought ReZero, Season 2, Episode 19, The Permafrost of Elior Forest. Ask and ye shall receive. Given ReZero's penchant for packing every episode to the absolute capacity, a lot of people, including myself, were left wondering if we're ever gonna see another opening. Lo and behold, it drops Episode 19, giving us some sweet visuals and a new banger to go alongside it. Scheduling aside, delaying the new opening till halfway through the second core actually makes sense, given the final image that we see. Portraying an all's well that ends well type atmosphere would definitely be counterproductive to the entirety of the first core, something that was absolutely impressive with its ability to create a dark, intense uncertainty for the future of the sanctuary. But now that it's out, gotta say, I actually like it. But enough about the opening, let's talk about today's episode, and boy howdy was it an episode. We get a lot of information, a lot of development as we are pushing ever closer to the sanctuary's freedom. But right off the bat, just as the episode is starting, we bring up one of the biggest points of contention in the last several videos. Is Emilia a witch? Now, a couple of videos ago, we witnessed an interaction between Echidna and Emilia at the start of her trial. During a verbal onslaught, Echidna referred to Emilia as the daughter of a witch, in which she retorts that she is the frozen witch, or more precisely, the witch of glaciation. Now, while Emilia's comments can be attributed to the OVA frozen bonds, I was still left wondering why Echidna would choose those words. Then again, I was ensured that no, it was just part of the long line of insults that preceded it. But now we have episode 19, with Emilia coming face to face with Pandora, who seems absolutely certain that this child is in possession of the key. And lo and behold, when Emilia finally does manifest it, it can only be perceived by her. And once again, I must question Pandora's use of this phrase. She informs us that only the one qualified to see it will be in possession of it. That Emilia truly is a witch's daughter. What was once perceived as an insult can't be said the same for Pandora. No malice or ill intent. Emilia has just done what the Witch of Vanity has asked of her. Why would she be insulting a child? Which leads me to question my earlier assessment. But of course, even further confusion on this turn of phrase can be said later on in the episode, when Pandora is absolutely shocked to find out that Emilia and Fortuna are actually not mother and daughter, that it's actually her sister-in-law that is her mother. Surprised by this revelation, she can only reply, ah, her. Given all this information so far, I've come to two possible conclusions. First and foremost, at least on what I'm hoping, is that Emilia is in fact the daughter of a witch, which is a real possibility given the fact that her mother's identity is still a mystery. But of course, given Pandora's reaction finding out that, it was her is Emilia's true mother, makes it seem less plausible, which leads me to my second possible conclusion, that in fact it was just an insult coming from Echidna, whether it be a coincidence or the fact that she has access to Emilia's memories, and coming from Pandora, it was the fact that she was referring to Fortuna as a witch, which makes sense, but also doesn't make sense given the fact that I was told the term of witch is specifically used for the witches of Zin. I mean, I just don't know. They both seem plausible. I can tell you what I want to be real, but nevertheless, that's a very interesting source of contention. Like, I just don't know how to interpret that right now. But alas, let's move on. As I said earlier, Fortuna has made it to the scene, and even with disregard of her surrounding, begins to attack Pandora, unaware that Emilia is there. Consumed by rage, she continues her onslaught until an illusion breaks her barrage. The image of Fortuna cradling Pandora is truly creepy. An interaction that once again is proving Pandora almost certainly unkillable, as well as giving Pandora that shocking revelation that these two are merely aunt and niece. Now with Fortuna back to her senses, it's time to console the real Emilia, where she learns Archie's fate, as well as provides some much needed emotional support when dealing with this little child who literally took on a witch of sin. But this battle is just beginning. With Pandora dead set on opening up the seal, it looks like Fortuna is preparing her final assault, planning to freeze her into a statue to die. But before the spell can be enacted, it is interrupted by Guse. Now, whether it be an illusion created by Pandora or merely blinded by blood, possibly a result of his body reacting to the witch's factor, Guse attacks Fortuna. We see his unseen hand pierce her chest and throw her like a rag doll. This is the straw that broke the camel's back. The point where his insanity insanity begins. Unable to cope with what he had just done, he is finally starting to resemble the Gyus we know. Once again, we see Pandora's powers of persuasion on display, whispering sweet nothing into Gyus's ears. The next scene is truly sorrowful as Fortuna lays dying in Emilia's arms. We hear of her regrets, of her broken promises to her brother and even Emilia, that her sister-in-law will never forgive her. And even though Emilia is still a child, I think she truly knows death is around the corner. In her last moments, she offers Fortuna love and forgiveness. The final caress of her face and her parting words of, "My little crybaby, I love you so, so much," Fortuna dies. This singular death was the catalyst behind two giant events in the ReZero world. First and foremost, this self-perceived act of betrayal was in fact what finally snapped Gyus, and it is also what ushered in the great freezing of Elior Forest. Now inconsolable and uncontrollable, Emilia's powers are on full display. After grabbing a keepsake from Fortuna's corpse, which turns out to be Emilia's signature hair accessory, she begins her attack. An onslaught of magical spells, seemingly controlled by the singular desire for Pandora to die. But when that proves not to be enough, Emilia is forced to summon the great freezing catastrophe. But before the freezing takes place and Pandora bids her farewell, she leaves us with a couple interesting tidbits. We now know that it will take a power comparable strength for her to awaken, i.e. Puck. We know that Pandora is the one behind the manipulated memories, erasing her presence, yet engraving her resolve to keep her promise. And in fact, that Pandora and Emilia will meet again. This, along with her final words to Gyus, which seems to have persuaded him to her side, is the last we see, echoed by his oh so familiar maniacal laugh. And with this, the flashback is over. It's now do or die. Can Emilia accept her past misgivings and all of her regrets and finally move forward? Hell yeah. With idealistic determination of saving those she had frozen, she accepts her new path and everything that may come with it. Echidna begrudgingly acknowledges Emilia's passing of the first trial, and even though she is shocked to find out there are two to come, Echidna believes now that Emilia possesses a fighting spirit that the remaining trials will prove no challenge. But before ending their first encounter with an exchange of "I hate you," Echidna does confirm a couple things. That in fact, Pandora is the Witch of Vanity. That her authority of vanity did in fact create false memories. But which is kind of intriguing. If Echidna is confirming Pandora is the Witch of Vanity, it either means she is able to ascertain that she is in fact a Witch of Sin, or that quite possibly that she was alive during the Witches of Sin, 400 years ago, before the Great Calamity. And if that's true, could that possibly mean that Pandora's power is too much for even the Witch of Envy, Satella? Kind of interesting when you think about it, right? Trying to probe even further into Pandora though, Emilia gets stonewalled. The self-proclaimed conversation expert is super tight-lipped. Is this a mere matter of not wanting to dish about a fellow Witch of Sin? Or could it be an oh so familiar pact we've heard constantly time again, and it seems to be the bulwark for, everyone getting any information in this fucking world? But like I said, trial 1 is officially complete and Emilia has passed. Now, meanwhile, the conversation outside between the others has come to its inevitable conclusion, of course, with us missing everything. And as everything is wrapping up, Shima, Bilma, and Ram are adjourning for the night, while the others tend to seek out Roswaal Mathers. With Garfield won over and Emilia taking the trial, it seemed that Roswaal's well-laid plans are starting to fall apart. Trying to pinpoint where everything went wrong, both Roswaal and Subaru surmise it comes down to one of the most unlikely characters, Best Boy Otto Suin. Disregarded as a preconceived irrelevance in the overall story, Roswaal's failure to account for Otto has led to his current predicament. But even though the walls are closing in, and he's even confronted by the truth behind the sanctuary, why do I get the feeling that Roswaal is anything but ready to give up? I loved today's episode. It was fucking fantastic. The trial was amazing. It finally gave us a lot of information on Emilia's backstory, but I gotta say, I still have a lot of fucking questions. The contention of the phrase witch's daughter, daughter of a witch, there's gotta be something there. Not to mention the seal. We know for the fact that Pandora was there for the seal and the key, right? Emilia was the one qualified to possess said key. Is that because she has some kind of connection to the seal? What the fuck is behind that door? Why does the witch's cult want to open it? I mean, eventually we're gonna have to head back there, right? Emilia needs to unfreeze the people of Elior Forest. She'll have to make a return back to Elior Forest at least. And with Pandora saying that they're going to meet again, and that being her desired goal to open that seal, eventually they'll have to head back there. I don't know. And the big thing that is on the horizon that we're gonna figure out is the truth behind the sanctuary. If it wasn't just some kind of laboratory for Echidna's experiments, and now we know that Roswell Mather's great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandpappy was there, what was its real purpose? I don't know. Shit's getting good, man. We're only like, we got like 5 more episodes, 20, 21, 22, 26 more episodes. I don't know. I like this series, guys. I really do. They pack every fucking episode with so much shit. I love it. So with all that being said and more ReZero next week, I honestly cannot wait for future episodes.